Hello, hello. House Nothing welcomes you to part 2 of my gameplay guide series of Dragon's Crossing Season 4. Today we're going to be going through day 1 of both a Ranger and a Mage. Last time, of course, we did the Warrior and explained a lot of things. Today we're going to have less explanation and more gameplay. If you're brand new, you might want to go back and watch part 1. If you skipped part 1 because you're not brand new, that's perfectly fine. We're going to have more gameplay going forward. So let's go ahead and start with the Mage. I have a nifty rifty that I've been saving for this. He's still level 1 on this sheet. Let's see, Malachi. This is a guy I bought in the off season. Similar process to what I look for on OpenSea with mages. I want a high main stat. Here's a 15 for Malachi. That's pretty good. 46 overall is pretty good. He's an uncommon Rift hero. Not much difference between uncommon, common, or rare, really. You just get slightly more skill books. In day 1, I actually got 2 skill books on a common Rifty, so it's a low chance to get one of these NFTs anyways. So, all rarities really do is multiplying a low number. So it matters in the long run after all, but you can have like weird outliers where common Rifties get a bunch of NFTs and like your legendaries don't get anything. But back to Malachi, he is uncommon. What I also really want for my mages especially is a good combination of quickness and charisma, because as we notice and as we're going to go through, mages basically have 2 dump stats that you can pretty reliably, our actual dump stats. I didn't care about wisdom on most of my warriors, I said, but it's not exactly a dump stat. For strength and agility, it's about as close as it gets to not mattering at all. Sure, you're going to get some passive parry, some passive critical hit, but mostly you really want to focus on these 3 stats for the mage. That'd be wisdom, quickness, charisma. And in my experience, there are 2 somewhat distinct ways to build the mage, but they have a lot of overlap. One is you focus entirely on charisma, basically as your second priority behind wisdom, and then the other one you do it in reverse order. So you would want to do that on kind of a nuker build where you're relying on teleport to get you out of bad situations and fireball to kind of win the game. All mages, of course, start with firebolt, which is a much worse version of Fireball, which is kind of your end game on that build. But Firebolt is still very excellent, and we're going to cast it, I guess, twice today. More than likely. And when you go quickness, you're kind of more focused on your combat prowess, finishing the game, as opposed to direct damage from Firebolt and Fireball. What really defines the mage more than anything is that it has really good skills. Both the starting skill with Firebolt and then a bunch of the skills that you buy in the middle and late game, really. There's a bunch that are great. So that's kind of their best thing. Their worst thing is that their main stat, Wisdom, has been somewhat nerfed to not provide much passive dodge. Like in Season 1 and 2, I believe, it was kind of on par with how much dodge it was giving. Okay, this is a rough estimate that I did last season. I didn't quite finish this thought, but I think every point of agility is giving you 0.3 critical strike chance, whereas every point of wisdom is giving you like 0.1 dodge. So it's basically negligible. So mages will have a little bit more dodge than the warrior and the ranger, but not that much. Not nearly as much as in the first couple seasons. That was a balanced change they made, and I think it's a good one. And then a main difference with the mage is that they get passive charisma. Their quote-unquote mage gear usually adds charisma as well as wisdom, and every other level starting at 3, they gain 1 point of wisdom. I'm sorry, not wisdom, charisma. So where I talked about charisma on most of these rangers and warriors, it's just kind of an incidental thing that you get a little bit of value from early in the game. Mage gets value from their charisma. Most mage builds anyways get value from it throughout the game. So it's much more important for a mage than the other 2 classes. And I don't remember off the top of my head how many charisma checks or persuade checks Gundala had in part 1, but it wasn't that many. And at the beginning, basically a 9 charisma warrior is going to be just better at charisma or persuade checks than Malachi, for example, who only starts with 6. But this 6 is still going to go up quite a bit. I'm still going to put points in it. Let me write this, actually. So this charisma, despite the fact that it's only 6 now, is going to go up whether I choose to or not. So I might as well put some points in there. Like I said, because strength and agility are so bad, I'm going to put points in it when I roll a 3 or a 4 on my attributes dice. Now, I am certain that I didn't go through the persuade check in detail last time, so this is something that I took the time to discover in last season, is that the scale for your persuade checks is not it's not quite what you think. It's a bit weighted towards the opponent, I suppose. Meaning that both you and your opponent do roll a d20 and add your charisma for your persuade check, but in order for you to succeed on any level, on the lower level, you just get XP. You need to beat them by 4, 5, 6, or 7. So this range 4 to 7 in order to succeed. And in order to do get everything, you get both loot and experience. You need to exceed their persuade check by 8 or more. So like I said, it is weighted in their favor. So you do want, if you're going to be doing persuade checks late in the game into zone 4, you're going to want a considerable amount of charisma. In zone 5 at the end of the game, you kind of just have to build for charisma. Like very few of them, not that many of my mages are going to be able to persuade even in zone 5, depending on their gear. And there is a downside to failing. There's a tie. Basically, nothing happens from a range of +3 to -3. And then if you lose by 4 or more, they get a free hit on you. So it's just not always good to persuade. And I'm going to talk more about that when we get examples. Like at the end of your day, you don't want to risk losing loot, so sometimes you won't persuade. And also there are fights that are kind of borderline, whether you want to take them or run. In that situation, I won't persuade unless I'm very advantaged, because I don't want to get hit, and then it kind of teeters from a fight I want to take to running, and obviously I want to avoid running. So sometimes I won't even persuade when I can, but those are kind of nuanced, and that's the thing I'm going to get into when we see it. I can't really describe it here in theory. So without further ado, let's look at Malachi. We have not equipped our gear yet. Let's go ahead and do that. Unlike the warrior, the mage does not have a chance to get a bonus damage on their wand. But also, unlike the warrior, the mage has a really good level 1 skill. Firebolt is excellent. Firebolt was kind of the defining skill of Season 2 for Dragon's Crossing, because it used to do more damage up front and more of a dot. So how you read this is you get a d4, which is 2.5 damage, plus your wisdom divided by 10 up front. That's as soon as you cast it. And then for 2 rounds after that, you get a dot damage over time effect of 1 plus your charisma divided by 9. So what does that look like for Malachi? Wisdom, I'm going to get a d4 plus 2 because 5/10 is going to round up. And then I'm going to get a dot of charisma divided by 9, which is going to round up to 1 plus 1. You get 1 here, and then I'm going to get 1 for being 6 out of 9. So I'm going to do a d4 plus 2, and then a dot of 2 twice. So that's actually, it's a little complicated, but it's a lot of damage for a level 1 skill. So Firebolt is great in the beginning. I would say the biggest difference now and earlier Firebolt, when it was overpowered, is that it doesn't scale to the late game now as easily. Like, you have to put work into it. You have to prioritize charisma over other things, in my experience, basically quickness. So you have to work for it, and it does combine extremely well with Fireball, which is what I talked before. So you can just nuke the crap out of the end boss, and people were doing that kind of a level early. That's kind of an overpowered way to take on the boss. So it is very good, but you do have to build for it. In the early game, though, Firebolt is just excellent on all mages. Unfortunately, Ray of Frost is pretty bad. It was last season, and it hasn't changed. It does some damage up front, a little bit more than Firebolt, and then it lowers the monster difficulty to hit by your agility percentage, which is not going to be very good. I mean, this is one of the ways you could build for agility with a mage, but I don't recommend it, because you're just never going to really want to load Ray of Frost instead of Firebolt. I mean, I'll load some because it only costs 4 points, where Firebolt costs 5, so it divides a little more. But I am going to start with wasting essentially 2 skill points just in case I need Firebolt, because Firebolt is that much better. So now that we've equipped our skills and our gear, we're ready to just go out and fight. Right? My starting stats are kind of the same as my warrior, 3 to 8 damage, about 10% proc chance for 6, about... you see my dodge is a little bit higher. The warrior was like 27, but otherwise they're kind of the same. But they will start to differentiate themselves once I gear them up and level up. All right, we got a stag. This guy is on the higher end, but not too bad. I'm going to choose not to use my skill because I want to save those for tougher fights. Because I'll probably only use 2 skills this run. Maybe 3 if I decide to switch in some Ray of Frost. So we'll hurry this part up. We take a lot of bit of damage. Ow. Yeah, we take a lot of bit of damage, unfortunately, and we get no gear, so not great. Go again and find the dwarf. This is what we want to fight. We want to try to get lucky and get a 2-handed mage weapon here. Our clank saved us. This is just our normal clank for 6 damage got mitigated, so that's always good. And, ow. Not too bad, but we're taking some damage here, and we do not get lucky on gear. We don't get a non-combat encounters. I'm going to go ahead and start explaining the non-combat encounters. That was one of the things I sped through last time just for the sake of time, but now I can. Okay, so even though my charisma is not that great, I'm definitely going to use it here because the brigand is even worse. So I would use this all the time on basically anybody. And like I said, at level 1, my charisma is worse than most of my warriors and rangers, so it's not going to come into play later that I get a bunch of charisma on this guy kind of by accident. So we got everything. Awesome. He rolled a 1. That helps. I do an 18 check versus his 3. I get a 15 higher, so obviously according to my chart I get it all, including a dumb ranger sword. Could have considered healing there. If I was looking to fight a troll, I would heal, but I am not. Okay, this guy's hard. I'm actually not going to use my charisma check, my persuade check, because he is 7 higher than me. So with a difference of 7, most of my results are going to be a tie or a strike and not help me, and I actually have to get quite lucky in order to get any XP. I'm almost never going to do this, except, I mean, I can always roll a 20 against his 1, but that's kind of, I'm looking at, either nothing happens or I take damage, and I don't want to take damage here. 3 to 8 is kind of on the high side. If this guy had started with 10 charisma instead of 6, I probably would take the chance, but, this is the hero we got. I bought him at the floor a little bit under, so I can't really complain, but he's definitely some room to improve on this guy. All right, we get almost max damage, so we got a 3 plus 2 like we thought we would for wisdom, and then we're going to get 2 dots if he lives that long of 2 points of damage each. So we missed. We take 8, and he's going to take 2. See it right there. We hit, and now he's going to take another 2. So... die. Okay, so that's kind of when we want to use these firebolts. This is a deadly level 3 stag with lots of HP and lots of damage. This is probably the hardest fight we're going to take all day. So firebolt helped us a lot. We took 16 damage even with the firebolt. If we hadn't cast it, I don't think he's quite going to kill us, but it's going to definitely matter. So that's why I want to get out of there as soon as possible with the firebolt. But I don't get gear, sadly. And now I definitely want to heal. I could try to greed this and see if the next fight brings me down to 20 HP or something, I get a little bit of value on the double heal. But I don't think that's worth the risk. Like, I could fight a brigand or an elk like that guy, and I could just put myself in a situation where I get down to around 10 HP and I'm in range for them to kill me with a crit. And why would I do that to myself? It's so thin to get the double heal. It's just so thin. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to put myself in a weird spot trying to get a little bit more value there. Alright, here's a goblin, pretty straightforward. Hello. Took too much damage, but at least we got a very nice chess piece. And we got some more lore. Oh, and we got Cocytus. So Wandering Wizard Cocytus. This guy is a bit infamous because he was a disaster in previous seasons, but as of last season, they changed him around to where he's now one of the best non-combat encounters. And we'll go ahead and look at my sheet from last season. I've kind of abandoned this. Pro tip, don't do what I did here with these columns and these checkboxes. It makes it really hard to work with. But anyways, this data, the reason I compiled this data is just to do it once so I would have it going forward. They haven't changed anything so with the non-combat encounters, so this still applies. Basically, if you click the top option, you'll always go to Eidos. I'm not sure why I recorded that. If you click the bottom option, you have like a 90% chance of getting 1 XP. That's why it's amazing. This isn't really the best visual for this. So I'm going to click the bottom. I'm going to try my luck at arm wrestling. If I get a 19 or a 20, so 10% of the time, I get kind of rugged and I get sent back to Eidos. That part doesn't matter right now. Obviously, if I was in a... This is where it really screws you when you're late in the game, Zone 4, Zone 5. You really don't want to be sent back to Eidos. So let's roll a die. And 90% of the time we get 1 XP. Like I said, Cocytus is awesome. I would love to get nothing but Cocytuses, or as many as possible would be amazing. So we just got a bonus XP. We're still probably in the same situation we were before. I don't want to forget to equip my gear. That's easy to do when you get a non-combat encounter. So that's just strictly better. It gets 2 charisma, which is amazing. That's exactly what we want. Does that... It does not give us an extra pointed damage. We're not gonna get that for a while, but that's gonna definitely help persuade checks. So I'm gonna heal once again, basically the same logic as last time. I don't want to be put in a weird spot, and there's really no downside to healing here. I'm never doing 8 quests or 9 quests with 30, 40 hit points. It's just there's not that much luck in the world, in my experience. So we got another fight. We're not going to use a skill. We're just going to attack and hope to get loot. Hope to not take as much damage, but we can't really control that. Not too bad. And we leveled up. This is not where we want Cocytus, unfortunately. Like the treasure chest I got yesterday, at least there's nothing bad that can happen, so like I can't lose anything. But I really wanted to get this next fight, not this fight. So I'll roll again, see if I'm strong enough. I was not. So Cocytus is like, I don't know, this whimsical wizard dude who like works in reverse. So if you roll a 20, it's bad in Cocytus land. I don't know. It's like a lore thing. But okay, he says your strength is unimpressive. I'll send you back to Eidos for safekeeping. I guess that's like a troll thing. Why it works in reverse. You would think that a 1 or 2 would be a bad strength check, but you know. Whimsy. So I did go from the prairie to Eidos like that. If, like I said, if I was in a much further zone, I'd be upset. I'd get over it, but I'd probably whine a little bit first. All right. Roll. We got 6 total. That's pretty good. We're going quickness. So we got 3 skill points to distribute. I'm going to go 2 quickness and 1 charisma, I think. Yes, so you could make the argument that for a couple levels in the beginning that charisma is more important than quickness because you're not going to be using quickness that much, and I'm already over the threshold for what you would really want to reliably get away, but I'm going to choose not to adhere to that logic, though it is debatable. I'm just going to be consistent, and I want as much quickness as possible. So now I can do 1 Firebolt or 2 Ray of Frost. This is kind of an interesting decision. So, you know, these are both a D4 plus 2. This is a D4 plus 2. So I'm basically getting 4 more damage from Firebolt, or I'm getting 2 shots of Ray of Frost. So it's basically even. It's deciding if I want to split up my two skills or not, and I think it is advantageous to split them up. Like I said, the difference is 4 points of dot damage. This does a 2.5 plus 2, so this is 4.5. So this is slightly more damage, and I can have more kind of freedom to do stuff like this. But when I get another skill point, which won't be today, I'll switch a Ray of Frost over to Firebolt gladly. But right now I think it's better to use 2 Ray of Frosts just to give myself more options. And it is also slightly more damage in aggregate. Okay. And we have found just a chest piece thus far. We have a lot of room for improvement. I would consider fighting a troll if I got one soon. Because I do know one of their drops is a ring, which would really help me. But it depends on the troll. They vary in strength. So let's see. I really want a ring from like an adventurer. And I really want to fight dwarfs to try to get a two-handed weapon. Not using a skill. You really want to fight dwarfs on your mages and your warriors. Let's take a second actually and go through this loot table. I wasn't going to show this too much. It's kind of incomplete. I'm doing it a different way this season than last season. But dwarfs, hang on, that's the wrong one. Okay, this is pretty complete. So dwarfs give you this glowing staff, which is a two-handed weapon. So like I said, each enemy has a known loot table. Like it's not random what they give you. So I really want to fight dwarfs, like I said, for this two-handed staff or this two-handed heavy sword, great sword, for a warrior. I also really want to fight stuff that gives me rings, like a brigand. I believe an adventurer does too, and definitely the troll. But that being said, in Zone 1, you're not really doing anything with this information. You're just kind of hoping. So it's not that actionable. It doesn't matter that much. When you get to the later zones, you can kind of pick your priorities of what you want to fight. You can kind of pick how much risk you want to take. Like basically what this tells me is if I get in a spot against a dwarf where I have a very borderline decision between running and trying to kill it, like I can make an argument either way, and I'm kind of like, I think they're kind of equivalent in value, I might err towards trying to kill it because I know that it has good loot. Whereas a goblin, if I got in that same situation, I probably wouldn't. Or like a stag, if I got in that same situation, I probably wouldn't do that because I know I don't have the chance to get a two-handed weapon, which is what I really want right now. Damage is the most important thing. So we'll look at that loot table a lot going forward. Let's see if we get anything. We do not. We got 6 left at 48, so I would love to get 6 XP at least with this, which is entirely doable. Okay. This is an interesting spot. I am going to try. So I could make the argument to not do it. And that argument would basically be that it's somewhat debatable if I'm going to be able to get this. If I'm going to be able to kill all these guys without healing. So if I do it and I get hit, that might affect the equation. Whereas if I do it and I succeed, it probably doesn't change all that much because I'm in a good shape to pull this off. It's just that getting hit could mess with that equation. But I'm going to try it. I think it's overall better to do this because there are some situations where succeeding really helps me. Like if I fight a troll or if I fight some more hard guys. We don't know what the next 5 fights are going to be, so I can't say for sure whether it's good or bad, but I'm going to try it. Also because I got that item, I'm up to 9 now, so that helps me a lot. If I was at 6, I probably wouldn't do it. Anyways, we got a tie. That's kind of a common occurrence here. With my 26 against their 25, I exceeded by 1. I did not exceed by 4 or more, so I don't get the win. I did not fail by 4 or more, so I don't get attacked. I am going to use a Ray of Frost here because this is one of the harder guys in the zone. One of the harder guys I'm going to fight. It could do 1 more damage. He's got an extra chance to hit. He's got 21 health, so that's why he's one of the harder guys. And I get a little bit of an increase to hit him based on my agility. Now that's done. Ow. Okay. Okay, nice. That's just what we wanted. We get strength and agility from it. Like I said, those are basically useless, but getting more crit, more parry, more dodge, and some hit points is all good. Alright, so now we are a little bit lower than I'd prefer. It's not clear that we're going to be able to avoid healing. If I get a troll, for example, I'm almost certainly running. Hello? Oh, we got a dwarf. Nice. Alright, we're just going to attack it. Okay, it took a little bit of damage, and we got the big reward. Alright, awesome. So just what we wanted, the glowing staff. Oh, and that's a really good one. That's a D8 plus 2 bonus damage. They usually come with 0 or 1. This is, I think, the best glowing staff that I've seen thus far this season. I'm not sure I've seen another one with bonus 2. So this bonus damage is basically going to make this do the same expected damage as a D12 instead of a D8. It is awesome. I'm about to go up basically from a D6 to a D12, which is 3 steps higher. Incredible. And this is not going to get... No, that's way worse. Okay, so now I'm at 22 and 4 quests with 1 skill. Now I'm going to have to just suck it up and heal. I did improve my gear quite a lot, but at 22 I just don't want to play this game of chicken. I don't want to put myself in a situation where I have like a coin flip at the end. It's just not worth it. So sadly, I mean, there are some ways this could play out where I regret that, but you just don't know. Alright, adventure. This guy's pretty easy. I've got my new staff. I'm up to 6 to 13. I believe before that, so I was at 16 wisdom before, so I would have been at 4 to 9. So I went from 4 to 9 to 6 to 13. So that's 3 full expected damage more. It's amazing. We did this. Reduce my parry by 50%. Does not really matter. Okay, I rolled 2 1s, so that was pretty bad damage. And then I rolled an 8, so that's excellent damage. So there's my maximum. I have 8 for my D8, and then I have 5 bonus damage now. So I'm getting 3 points of bonus damage from getting to 16 wisdom with my level up to 2, and then I'm getting 2 points of bonus damage from my awesome staff. So yeah, this is excellent damage. No loot. That's okay. Can't complain about loot at this point. It's not allowed. I've gotten 3 really good pieces. My ring isn't very good, but my chest piece and my weapon are both awesome, and getting a ring is good, so I'm not allowed to complain. Okay, we've got 1 skill. I'll probably just use it here. Actually, I'm at 50, so I think I don't use it. Just in case I get a troll, I'll have more options available. Oh, wow. That ran well on that. We'll compare that in a second. So yeah, this, I can get more parry, but 1% less dodge. I get more strength instead of agility. These are pretty equivalent. I'm going to stick with what I got because I want dodge more than I want parry, because dodge prevents all damage, whereas parry prevents half, so it's just better. And getting an agility is better than strength, I think, just to try to crit. But they're about the same. So now if there's a troll, I have 50 and a skill, so I would almost certainly kill a troll if I got one. I did not. So we'll just use it or lose it. I could have probably gotten away with not healing here, but like I said, there was just no way to know what was coming at the time, and I didn't want to put myself in that bad situation. There's your boy, yet again. Love the cockatius phrasing. So now I am not going to be amused if I roll a 20. I do not, and I get an XP here, which is awesome. If we had gotten that other cockatius at a better time and done it, we would have got the fabled level 3 on day 1 with this guy. But this guy's doing great. I have no complaints at all. I found two really good pieces of gear, and I got one XP away from level 3 is amazing. So yeah, much better than Gundalo, who I played yesterday. It's just, the RNG just rolled how it was. I could have even got greedy by not healing. If I was prescient, I would be at 3 because of that, but like I said, I don't think it's worth the risk. Speaking of which, let's look at Gundala really quick, because what I said at the end of our session yesterday was, even though she did really bad on day 1, she gained enough XP. So I played her last night, or this morning, I think it was last night, for her second day, so she's now at 30 quests. But yeah, like I said, she was basically like one good loot drop away from being perfectly fine. And this day 2, she did awesome. She's at level 4 with 3 of 9, and she did in fact get an awesome loot drop. And she got all the way up to 22 strength. So it goes up quickly. She started at 12, which was a problem, but 22 strength does the next threshold to get 4 bonus damage, which is what you really want. And she got a great sword right there. So like I said, basically she was one loot drop, and one good day basically completely canceled out my first day, which was bad. So like, don't get too discouraged. Like if you have a bad day, whatever, like it'll even out usually. Okay, so we might as well just go right into the Ranger and get this done. We're going to use Roland here. He's another nifty rifty. Let's look at our sheet. So I do think the Ranger is overall the worst of the 3 classes, but they're pretty comparable to the Warrior. That's not Roland. That's the wrong color for Roland, because he is not a rare. He is a common. Okay. Anyways, but he's excellent. I bought him before last season. He did pretty well last season. In fact, he had a really good shot to finish top 5 on the leaderboard. He was one of my dark horses that was really coming through. And then he died to a zone 5 mob. Preda crit him twice square in the nuts, and it was really sad. And then he ended up, being in the 250, 260 quest range, basically, because of that bad luck. Instead of, he could have even got first, I think, or maybe only second or third. But anyways, that was Roland. Roland's good. 15 starting agility, that's what we like to see. Good quickness, good charisma, although charisma doesn't matter as much. On the Ranger, I do think they use all of the attributes potentially, except for charisma. There's no use for charisma on the Ranger. You're just trying to get a few persuade checks if it's convenient, like early in the game, and then you just ignore charisma. But strength, I do not ignore, because it has a couple of nice skills. We'll go into them once they become relevant. For strength, you can see I'm focusing multiple Rangers on strength. And then also wisdom. You can have some nice defensive skills and some nice healing with wisdom. So either of those, I really like to have a high number. And Roland has 10 strength, so I'll ignore his wisdom. And after a couple levels, I'll probably ignore charisma and just be worried on... I don't like how I'm showing that, but that is technically true. Let's be consistent, though. So yeah, the cool thing about the Ranger is that it passively gets quickness, which is why I have these kind of like this instead of quickness then agility. I will basically split the points between their, the thing that goes with their skills and their quickness. I don't actually have any skills that are using quickness on the Ranger, but since it gets it passively and it's just a valuable skill on its own, not a skill, it's a valuable attribute on its own, I do want to put some points into quickness just to get above the threshold for what you would want to reliably get away in a bad situation. That's valuable in and of itself. So like I've said before, every other level starting on 3, the Ranger does get 1 quickness and 1 hit point from its level ups, and most of the gear that focuses on agility also gives you quickness, which is why a ranger's going to just naturally acquire more quickness than the other two classes. So I can split evenly between quickness and strength, for example, or evenly between quickness and wisdom, and still be over that threshold to run when I need to, as opposed to needing to do it like this. So with our high agility, we are going to get quite a few points for a critical strike that really end up mattering a lot. They will do considerably more critical strikes than the other two classes because of agility. And Rangers have pretty good skills. Not quite as good as Mage, but a significant step up from Warriors. You see on here, this is kind of our end-game strategy, is to poison the bosses at the end. This is on par with like fireballs, like a nuker mage. Like your ranger becomes a nuker for the last couple fights, just because it's so powerful. And then before you get to there's some boss fights where you really want to use your strength-based skills to debuff the boss and kind of buff yourself, because that's about the time when their basic skill starts to fall off, is when these start to become relevant. And what I mean by fall off, we'll talk about Barb Projectile in just 1 second. And then I do have this one Wisdom Ranger, which I think Wisdom is quite good. I like the Wisdom Ranger better than the Wisdom Warrior, for example. I've had more success with it. I did well with this character, or somebody like it, last season. I think it was a different one I registered, but it was basically the same build. So Apply Poultice is a heal. This is one of the few builds that I want to heal with. Here's another one. Here's another one, but that's only like 3 or so out of 15 or 16. I don't value healing that highly. Maybe that's like a controversial statement to some people. I don't know. It's just how I feel, but you can basically leverage your points you put into quickness. Wisdom, and get like multiple skills that matter at different parts in the game. Like all 3 of these skills matter, and they all basically focus on wisdom, so that's cool. So let's talk about Barb Projectile, and we'll do that here in Eidos. Let's equip our weapons and stuff before we forget. They also do not get a bonus damage, unfortunately, so I'm going to be 3 to 8. Unless you start with 16, then you get 4 to 9 damage. That's kind of all the variance you have with a ranger starting. But yeah, Barb Projectile is an awesome skill, especially early in the game. This is even better than Firebolt early in the game. You know, it's going to overkill a lot of these early enemies, but that's fine. That's like one of those good problems to have, is to do too much damage. It does a D4 plus agility divided by 9. So already that's more than the Firebolt starts with, which was Wisdom divided by 9. And both of those skills just blow the warrior skills out of the water. So I'm not even going to bother comparing. Just know that overhand chop is not great. You just got to do what you got to do. So I got a 15. So 9 is going to actually round up to 2. That's going to be a D4 plus 2. So that's 4.5 damage up front on average, and then you get 3 rounds of damage over time for a D4 each. And the reason this doesn't scale as well as Firebolt does, and some of these skills that are not basic, is that this D4 really matters in the beginning, and then it stops mattering around zone 4 and beyond. It's kind of embarrassing at the end, this D4. It's only 2.5 damage, which is great now when stuff's got 20 health, but when stuff has 100 health, it's just like kind of embarrassing. You want to be able to do something else with your ranger late in the game. But right now it's awesome. So those 3d4s are going to be 7.5 damage, plus this 4.5 is 12 total damage for 5 points. Where you compare that to an overhand chop, as we started off, was like 5.5 damage, 3.5 plus 2, I believe. So it's over double basically what an overhand chop does, and it's more damage than a Firebolt. So this skill is awesome. Herbal Knowledge has a use. It's not great though. It is a heal that every ranger starts with. You heal 3 plus your wisdom divided by 8. I have 4 wisdom, so that's half. So I get 3.5 healing. Healing does deal in decimals, so I will get the half point. It doesn't round up to 4 though. And then I get a slight increase to my dodge of 15% plus wisdom divided by 6. So my 4 is going to round up. No, it's not going to round up. It's going to be 2/3. So this is my 4 wisdom is going to be 2/3. So this is going to be 15.66% more dodge, which is not good. Like, it is percentage based. It's not 15% like flat. That's I don't have a flat skill up, but it'll say flat if it means to add 15%. Like that would put us up to 40, and that would be awesome. I would be down for that for sure. But it doesn't say flat. Therefore, I get 15.66% of 27, which is bad. That's like 3%. So I really don't care about 3.5 points of healing and 3% dodge at this point. It'll get better as we go along in the game. Like I said, it's more of a late game skill, honestly. So I'm basically never going to load this, almost never going to load this in the early game, unless I just have the points just sitting there. Like, it's better than nothing, but it's never better than Barb Projectile. I love Barb Projectile early. So I'm going to cast 2 Barb Projectiles today, almost certainly. Like, for example, last time I said I was probably going to do that with Firebolt, but then I ended up loading 2 Ray of Frost. I don't see hardly any scenario where I'm going to end up loading 2 Herbal Knowledges. All right, so we are ready. We are equipped. We've done this twice before. Let's go ahead and do it. Oh, wait. I almost forgot. Okay, shared stash. What I said in my last video, I had a warrior that was having a terrible day. In fact, I'm going to show you that warrior just to shame him. But anyway, he was having such a terrible day and ended up with like 2 quests left and like 15 health. And I decided, instead of healing for 1 and getting 1 more XP on that warrior, I would put this goblin dagger in the shared stash. So I'm actually going to take this with my first 2 quests of the day. It's going to set me back. I'm not going to get to level 3 on this guy, almost certainly. I almost got it on my mage. But it's going to pay off in the long run, I think, because this is one of the most impactful things you can do at level 1. And this is just going to be good for a long time. And I think it's worth it. This is one of the few times where I think it's worth it. So we go from 3 to 8 damage just holding the starting dagger, all the way up to 4 to 12 damage, which is a big increase. That's basically 2 more damage that we get, and we get some parry. So our parry went up 4%, I believe. Oops. 4.5%, yeah. So awesome. So this guy's on the fast track. He's gonna do a lot better than basically anybody else starting out without the shared stash, but he's got 2 less quests, and that absolutely matters. It's not free. It's far from it. If they cost 1 quest instead of 2, for example, I would use the shared stash a ton, but I think 2 is better. I think that would give too much of an advantage to the big wallets, and I think 2 is just right. I think 3 would be laughable, and you just never use it almost, but 2, this porridge is just right. Let's fight a deadly dwarf. Dwarfs I don't like as much on the ranger, even though I already have my offhand. As much as I like them on the warrior and mage because of their 2-handed weapon drops. We already went over that. I'm not going to use a skill on this, although he is deadly. We just want to do 15 damage. I just did 11. That was awesome. I didn't break it down, but you can see actually you roll 2 dice now. This is how it represents that you're basically 2-weapon fighting with your main hand short sword and your offhand dagger. That's very, that's very D&D. And then you get your full bonus damage. You don't take any penalties like you do in D&D. So like 2-weapon fighting is awesome. And you get defensive skills from your offhand. Like my dagger is giving me 4.5% parry, and that's gonna be true throughout the game. I'm gonna get a bunch of parry from the late game daggers too, and more damage. It just scales. That's kind of what I was saying yesterday about the warrior, is that their offhand weapon is a shield. So it doesn't roll dice like this, but it gives you armor mitigation proc chance, and it gives you bonus damage. So the shield is different than the dagger by quite a lot. All right. Anyways, No loot. Let's go. Alright. This guy's a dork. Let's attack him. Now. Well, you do still need to hit, so you can take damage if you miss. Nice. Very nice. That will help me. I get more parry and a lot more armor mitigation chance, so alright. I mean, if we're hitting, they got no chance against us. The only way they have a chance is if we're missing. Ooh, so we got a crit this time. We would have done 12 points of damage. They mitigated 1, but that's still fine. Got him. Nice. So there's that heavy or great sword for the warrior. I would have loved to get that yesterday on my warrior. These are nice, actually. Oh, those are really nice. So we got lucky. Let's talk about a rarity bonus. Like I said, the starter gear has rarity bonuses, but they don't do anything. They're kind of just, I wish they would be all common, but whatever. The other gear you get has a rarity bonus. That's why randomly it gave me +2 to a stat, which happened to be agility, which is amazing, obviously. That's just dumb luck right there. You get enough loot, then this will happen. So that's like one of the best, random RNG that I could get right now. So I got 2 agility, which doesn't do anything for me. Oh, no, it does, actually, because I went from 15 to 17. I got 1 more point of damage because 16 is our inflection point. So I want to get to 21 as soon as possible. We're going to get to 19 at level 2. So we're definitely going to get to 21 by level 3. And we might find another gear that boosts agility and get there quicker. So yeah, we're doing great. Alright, this guy I think requires or is a good time to use our barbed projectile. 19 and 20 is about as much HP as you're going to have to deal with from a non-troll. And I'm less inclined to fight a troll, by the way, on this ranger because I kind of cheated and gave him the goblin dagger. So I'm not really looking to fight many trolls, although it depends. But regardless, I'm just going to use this on the hardest guys I fight, which will probably be a stag or a brigand. So we rolled 4. We add 2 to it, I believe. We're at 19. Yes, we had 2, so this will do 6 damage up top. And then 3 d4s. It could almost kill it like straight up if I rolled all 4s, but I'm obviously not going to roll all 4s. I might kill it right now and just waste that damage over time effect. Like I said, that's a good problem to have. I don't care about that. I just want him dead as soon as possible. Okay, I did not hit him, so he took 2 that time. I did hit him for 10, and the dot should kill him, I believe. Yep. So I brought him down to 1 with that 10-point hit. And then he took 4 damage from the dot, and that's what killed him. And we wasted our last roll, quote unquote, but great. Oh. Okay, so I kind of wish I hadn't done that dagger, but I don't know the future, sadly. I have gotten a mythic crossbow. It's not that good, though, so I actually am not going to use it. I don't think. It gives 4 wisdom. Going from 4 wisdom to 8 doesn't do much at all for me. The crit chance and hit points are nice, but I'd rather have the damage. This will do more damage in total. We'll go ahead and look at it. We're at 5 to 13 to weapon fighting. And 4 to 13, so, less. It's pretty comparable, but I want the parry more than I want the critical chance right now. It's pretty comparable. If that was, quickness or agility especially, just randomly hit instead of wisdom, obviously I would use it and it'd be amazing. But I think this two-handed, I just want all the damage as possible, and this is still more damage, so I'm just going to use that. But that's an awesome loot drop. What was that from? That was from an elk. So you can get good ranger gear. You can get the good ranger weapons. Let's go through it on zone 1. I have this. Yeah, that's the U crossbow you can get from the elk /stag. You can also get it from the adventurer. So there's 2 ways to get it. The dwarf gives the mage and warrior. And then, like I said, you can get the goblin dagger from the troll. So it's pretty easy to buff up your rangers early on in the game. All right. Speaking of adventurers, let's do it. Took a little extra damage there, which I don't love, but I do love getting my first ring. It's just pure value. Hello. 1 agility too. Oh yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, we got a nice ring. We need 1 more agility from an item, and we can actually get to 21 by level 2, which would be amazing. Okay, we need 2 more XP though. Do I want to heal? I think I have to. I don't want to, but if I get a troll, I'm not fighting it, so I don't need to do it right now, I guess, but I could get a non-combat encounter that heals me a little bit. I'll just do it now. I don't see any way that I'm getting through all these quests, so like I've said before, I choose to heal a little bit before I need it, just because you can put yourself in just such a weird situation if you start the fight low, where I just want to avoid it. Like there's no real reward to waiting on it. It's just magical Christmas land that I was going to get 8 fights through on that amount of health. So why not? Okay. And this is another dwarf, easy guy. We got hit him twice. He's done. Love our damage. Love getting armor. Any armor is better than this, of course. This is pretty medium, but we take it. An extra armor mid amount and a hit point and 2 points of proc chance, basically. We take it. And we need 1 more XP. Judging by how the last 2 have gone, I'll get either Cocytus or the treasure chest at the end of this. Oh, we did a parry clank. Nice. Dagger's doing work. Oh, we put him to 1 and took an extra 5 damage. Not great. Okay, didn't do it. Let's level up. So, like I said, we're going to split our between... Actually, let me think. So strength is more important later on. What is this guy's charisma? I start with 9 charisma on this guy, so I am actually going to put 2 points into charisma right now, because strength will be a little bit worse later, but honestly, you don't use these too much, and it doesn't hurt you that your strength is at, a little worse. Like, if I didn't have charisma, I'd obviously put it in strength, but I think with 9 charisma, that's the reason I have it highlighted. So when I roll well on these attribute dice, I can actually get a few extra persuade checks through zone 1 and zone 2. And, basically the whole point of doing these persuade checks, I'm not sure I said this when I was kind of talking about it earlier. The whole point is that they just let you heal a little bit less. And some days, it's pretty minor, but I'm not going to do the switch. Like I said, I want the barbed projectile. If I fight a hard guy, that's going to help me so much more than 2 herbal knowledge. Anyways, yeah, basically these charisma checks that I was talking about before, the goal is to heal less because you're taking less damage from a charisma check. It's kind of the same thing that we were talking about with quickness before on going first on the last fight. Anything that you can do to take less damage and heal only 1 time instead of 2, that's just going to be 1 extra experience, basically. It's kind of thin to even think about it once you put it in those terms, but that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get thin edges like that and do it, consistently, and it will, show in the final results. So I should be on pretty good. All right, I am going to use it here. Wouldn't be a disaster if we got hit, but we'll try not. We got the partial win, so we didn't get any gear potentially from that goblin. This is where you might use the sheet too, if it's kind of a mediocre decision. You could decide based on what gear they give, which I didn't think about when I did it, but I wanted to do it anyways. This way I don't take any damage, and if I get in trouble, I might end up, avoiding a flea or avoiding a heal if I take a bunch of damage, like from a troll, because I will fight a troll here. If we see it, we see a level 3, pretty good stag, 21 of 21. I'm going to go ahead and use this. I will regret it if I get that troll afterwards, but I don't know the future. I just want to get him out of here. So we did 4 points a dot. Great. And he's gone. Waste the other 2 dots, which is fine. Ooh, those are nice. We get charisma. Oh, but my boots are already great. So we are at 20 agility right now. These boots are giving us 2 agility, which is great. But going from 18 to 20 agility doesn't really matter, because this is what I mean by inflection points. Like, in between these 2 numbers, your agility doesn't matter that much. It can matter a little bit for a skill. Like, maybe I would do one more. I wouldn't, but maybe in some situations I would do more with barbed projectile with this extra 2. So I'm actually going to wear this for now. It's also a considerable more armor proc chance, and this is considerable more mit amount, but you want the chance more than you want the amount in the early levels. So I just need to remember to reevaluate once I level up, because I don't want to not be at 20, at least 21 agility at level 3. So I just need to remember to re-equip those shoes, which is why you can drag the loot to the end. That's kind of how I do it if I'm trying to remember something. So I'll just keep this the rightmost loot, and I'll look at it when I load this guy up again. That's what I do basically when I load up guys, is look to the rightmost loot, because that's what I drag if it's relevant. All right, we're still at 50. I took like no damage from that elk, so we're just about done. Oh, triple. Okay, wow. I didn't have one of these on my sheet. Sandals. He can give sandals too. Bam! And by the power of editing, we got sandals. Your boy is learning stuff like YouTube. Alright, so these sandals aren't going to be better. This is probably better. I would rather have 2 proc chance as opposed to 1 mid amount, I think. Yep. Because here early on, my 5, like between 5 and 6 doesn't matter that much, but getting this as high as possible does matter. Just because it started so low, I just want to boost up my proc chance early as much as possible. Okay. And what else? Oh, axe, it doesn't matter. Okay. 2 more. Out of skills. This is a pretty hard fight. Should be fine with our HP buffer. Question mark. Ow. Dear God. Look at this. Would you look at this? See, when I say stuff like, I heal to be conservative, and then the next few fights are really easy, and I look kind of a little bit silly, you might think, he's making a mistake. He's being too conservative. But shit happens, man. Like that fight, this guy's done over 30 damage to me, kind of out of nowhere. Ugh, this really hurts. Okay, so I want to go first and kill this guy. There is a non-zero chance that he can max roll and crit me and like kill me. Yeah, but I'm still going to attack. I'm not going to run. But it's bad. It's real bad. Okay. So we finally hit him and kill him, and now we're in a bad spot. Damn it. So yeah, ooh! Okay. Berries. Okay. So yeah, we're in a bad spot. We just got berries at a very interesting spot. Let's look at our non-combat encounter sheet. Where is it? I guess I need to bring this. No, that's not it. Other data. Okay, yeah, I don't know why I thought checkboxes were so cool last season. They're not. Berries, however, are quite cool. So option 1 has 2 outcomes. One is good, one is bad, where I either gain 15% hit points or I lose 15% or 5% hit points. So you can see that in most of these non-combat encounters like this are weighted in the player's favor. So you generally want to do them all. The Gambler, for example, is weighted in your favor. Cocytus is heavily weighted in your favor. Treasure Chest is complicated. I would say Cthulhu and the Sphinx. I guess I'm probably not going to get to those today, so if you're just listening to this, maybe that'll help you. Those are the worst two, and I generally just run from them and hope. But Sphinx is really bad. That's the worst one. And then the Orb is great. It's just all value. Anyways, so berries, the normal mode is good, but I'm at this, so I can either, if I choose option 2, I'll either get plus 8% hit points, which really matters, or nothing. So 15% or plus 8 would really matter in terms of getting my last XP here. Minus 5% would really hurt me. Like that would just bring me down basically to 0, where I would have nothing else to do today. So I'm going to do the middle option and get either 0 or 8%. Because with my gear and my quickness, I am going to chance this last quest at 11.4 HP if it comes down to that. I wouldn't do that if I had a hero with low quickness or bad gear, but I would do it with this guy. So given that, I want this 8%, but if I get nothing, I'll still fight. Whereas if I did this, I would want the 15%, but I don't think 15% and 8% are that big of a deal. Whereas if I get minus 5%, I definitely cannot fight. So I want to fight. So this is going to be 8%. Awesome. Very helpful. But yeah, I would have done it at 11 there. Because I'm on my last quest, because I have good gear, if I died, you never want to die, but if you're going to die, now is like kind of the best time to do it. So that's why I would risk it. And that's why I am going to risk it. I'm still risking it, at 17, but I also have 11 quickness if I need to get out of there. Like if there's a troll or if the first round against a brigand goes bad, I'm just going to run. I don't want to risk it that much, but I'm not going to waste this last quest. There's a brigand. This is a problem. So I'm going to see how the first round goes and reevaluate. It's awkward. It's almost better if you miss and get hit, so then you know to run. But when this happens, I'm not going to run. What does that do? Monster damage. He increases his bonus damage next round. Great. Oh god, please don't kill me. I have such a quickness advantage too that I'm likely to get him. All right, let's build the suspense. We're on YouTube after all. See what happens. He missed. He went first, which sucked. And then hopefully I kill him. Yes! Oh, he clanked it for 1. I think 10's enough, right? Yes, okay. Whew. So we ran really well on that guy. That could have went bad. Like I said, I'm going to be more willing to do some risk here at the end of the day in that situation, because dying doesn't hurt this character all that much in this particular situation. So I want to risk it. I'm already behind 2 XP because of the shared stash, so we did really good actually. So we're at 5 out of 8, so this is like on par with some of the people that didn't use the shared stash, like quite a few of them, and we got that goblin dagger, so yeah, that was awesome. We were able to basically get a few more XP because we didn't heal very much at all, and did we get Cocytus this time? I think we did, so that helped. Alright, so that's day 2. I'm going to be back pretty soon with the transition from Zone 1 to Zone 2. I'm going to have some level 4, level 5 type of heroes to show that probably tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Tune in to the next one.